The wheelchair hit the third step, and I felt my body lift into the air. Time slowed as I tumbled forward, my useless legs flailing, arms desperately grasping at nothing. Behind me, her laughter echoed through the stairwell of our Ikoyi mansion, high-pitched, cruel, deliberate. "Go on, Chidi. Roll away like the living corpse you are." Amara's voice dripped with venom as my wheelchair clattered down the marble stairs behind me, metal screeching against stone. I crashed into the landing, pain exploding through my shoulder and ribs. Blood filled my mouth. Through blurred vision, I saw her standing at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, her expensive Brazilian weave perfectly styled, her red lipstick bright against her dark skin. She wasn't alone. A man stood beside her, tall, familiar, wearing the gold watch I'd bought him for his last birthday. My younger brother, Obi. What would you do if your own wife and brother betrayed you like this? Hit like if you felt this pain, and comment below where you're watching from. They didn't rush down to help. Instead, Obi's hand slid possessively around Amara's waist. She leaned into him, turning her face up for a kiss that made my stomach turn. This was domestic betrayal at its cruelest, infidelity in marriage that cut deeper than any physical wound. 3 months earlier, life had been different. My name is Chidi Okafor, and I was Lagos's rising tech entrepreneur. At 38, I'd built a software company worth millions of naira, married my college sweetheart Amara, and we lived in a sprawling home in one of Lagos, Nigeria's most exclusive neighborhoods. We had twin daughters, Kemi and Tari, beautiful 8-year-olds who. The files arrived. I opened the first one and felt my breath catch. Amara and Obi weren't just having an affair, they'd been systematically stealing from my company for months. Bank transfers to offshore accounts. Forged signatures. Contracts with ghost vendors. They'd stolen over 50 million naira, enough to send them both to prison for a decade. The second file was even better. Photos of Amara with not just Obi, but 2 other men. Dates, times, hotel receipts. One of the men was married to a high-ranking government official known for his violent jealousy and strict Pentecostal beliefs. The third file. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and broken dreams. Dr. Adeyemi finished wrapping my ribs, her dark eyes full of professional concern and personal fury. 3 cracked ribs, dislocated shoulder, severe bruising, and a concussion, Mr. Okafor. You're lucky you didn't break your neck. She paused, lowering her voice. This wasn't an accident. No, I said quietly. It wasn't. I have to report this. Domestic violence against a disabled person is a criminal offense. I know. And I want you to. But first, I need you to do something else. I pulled up the recording on my phone. I need this documented as evidence. Timestamp, medical report, everything admissible in court. She listened to Amara's voice calling me a living corpse, the sound of the wheelchair being pushed, my body tumbling down the stairs. Her jaw tightened with each word. I'll have this filed within the hour, she said. But Chidi, you can't go back to that house. I'm not planning to. My phone buzzed again. Messages flooding in, Ngozi had been busy. I'm planning something much better. Have you ever had to rebuild your life from rock bottom? Drop a like if you're rooting for Chidi, and comment where you're watching from. The first message was from my lawyer, Barrister Okonkwo, injunction filed. House is frozen. All accounts frozen pending investigation. Police report submitted for assault. She can't touch anything. The second was from Ngozi, files delivered to Premium Times, Punch, and Linda Ikeji's blog. Story drops at 6 a.m. Also contacted Mrs. Adiz Nwosu, the wife in Abuja. She's very interested in knowing where her husband is. The third message made me smile. Amara to Obi, you're in this as deep as I am. That wife of yours in Abuja? I have proof you abandoned your children. You'll go to prison for years. Help me finish this or we both go down. She's planning to kill you, Ngozi said flatly. Tonight. I've already informed hospital security and the police. There's a guard outside your room, and 2 plainclothes officers in the hallway. But we need to move you somewhere safe. Somewhere she doesn't know about. My daughters. Already handled. Emeka picked them up from the house an hour ago. Amara was at dinner and didn't notice. They're at his place in Victoria Island with his wife. She's a child psychologist. The girls are safe. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by fresh rage. My 8-year-old daughters had witnessed their mother try to murder their father. What kind of therapy would erase that trauma? Where's Amara now? Still at Cactus with Obi. But she's been making calls. A lot of calls. To some very unpleasant people. Ngozi pulled up another screen. Remember Dan Juma? Your former head of security who you fired for theft last year. I nodded. He threatened me when I had him prosecuted. He's out on bail. And Amara just sent him 200,000 naira with the message, handle the problem at General Hospital. Tonight. Make it look natural. The cheating spouse had become a would-be murderer hiring an assassin. The betrayal was complete. "We need to set a trap," I said, my mind racing despite the pain medication. "She thinks I'm helpless, alone, vulnerable. Let's use that." "What are you thinking?" "We leak my location. Say I'm being moved to a private facility at midnight for safety reasons. Create a window where they think they can get to me. But instead, we let them walk into a police trap." Ngozi smiled grimly. "I like it. But you're the bait. That's dangerous." The clock on the hospital wall read 1:47 a.m. I lay in the dark, alone in my room, or so anyone watching would think. In reality, 5 armed policemen were positioned throughout the corridor, 2 more in the room next door watching through a cracked doorway, and Detective Inspector Folake Adeyemi was monitoring from a van outside with full audio and video feeds. My wheelchair sat empty by the bed, a mannequin dressed in hospital gowns positioned under the sheets. I'd been moved to a secure location 3 floors down, watching everything unfold on Ngozi's laptop from a supply closet that smelled of bleach and latex gloves. Movement in the south stairwell, came the whisper through the radio. Male, approximately 6 feet, wearing hospital scrubs. Surgical mask on. Moving toward room 412. My room. "Hold position," Detective Adeyemi ordered. "Let him enter. We need attempted murder, not just trespassing. Would you let the assassin walk into your empty room, or stop him early? Like if your heart is racing, and comment where you're watching from." On the screen, I watched a figure pause outside my door, looking both ways down the corridor. He pulled something from his pocket, a syringe filled with clear liquid. Then he slipped inside. "Go," Adeyemi ordered. The lights blazed on. Police swarmed the room. The man spun, reaching for something at his waist. "Gun," someone shouted. The takedown was brutal and efficient. Within seconds, Danjuma was face down on the floor, hands cuffed, the syringe rolling across the tiles. A pistol skittered under the bed. "What's in the syringe?" Adeyemi asked, her voice cold. "I want a lawyer," Danjuma spat. "Get it to the lab," she ordered. "And someone get his phone. I want to know who hired him." But we already knew. The text messages were all the proof we needed. What we didn't know was who M was, the contact Amara had messaged about, Plan B. "We need to move fast," I said from my hiding spot. "Amara will know he failed within the hour. She'll run." The sound of a slap echoed through the speakers, followed by more shouting. Hotel security would be there soon, but for now, we had audio gold. Adiz was breaking him down, and Obi was confessing everything in his panic to deflect her rage. "It was Amara," he shouted. "She planned all of it. She seduced me, convinced me Chidi deserved it for being rich while I struggled. She said we'd be together, that we'd have money, that we'd start over. I didn't know about the others until 2 weeks ago. I swear, Adiz, I didn't know she'd done this before." "Others? What others?" "The men she killed. The disabled men. She's done this 7 times. Insurance fraud, murder, she's a monster. And now she wants to kill Chidi, and I told her I'm out, but she has evidence against me. I'm trapped." Beautiful. Obi was confessing to conspiracy to commit murder while his wife recorded everything on her phone. I could see her screen reflected in a mirror. She was live streaming this to Facebook. "Save that video," I told Ngozi urgently. "Download it before it's taken down. That's our backup evidence." "Already on it." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "And I'm sending it to the police now. This changes everything. We have conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, admission of multiple homicides. This is enough to arrest Amara immediately." Detective Adeyemi's voice came through the radio. "Arrest warrant approved. Moving units to the Ikoyi residence now. Okafor, stay where you are. This ends tonight." But even as she spoke, the security feed from my house went dark. All cameras, simultaneously. "She knows," I said, my stomach dropping. "She cut the power. She's running. Units are 2 minutes out? Retry. Continue. She'll be gone in 1." I was already moving, Ngozi helping me into my wheelchair. "How many exits does that house have?" "She's at the airport. She's running. Already on it. Airport security is searching for her now. She won't get out of Nigeria." But Amara was smarter than that. She'd proven it 7 times before. She wouldn't use her own passport. She'd have a fake one, a new identity, escape routes planned years in advance. "Check the manifests," I said urgently. "But not for Amara Okafor. Check for names associated with her past, maiden name, previous aliases, anything." Ngozi was already pulling up records. Her maiden name was Amara Oduns, nothing. Previous aliases, wait. There's a ticket purchased 2 hours ago under the name Maria Adelik. First class to Dubai on Emirates, departing at 5:30 a.m. Tun's last name, I breathed. She's using her dead husband's name. The audacity. Flight's still on the ground. We can stop her. Unless she's not actually taking that flight. Pull up all international flights departing between now and 8 a.m. Look for single women traveling alone with tickets purchased in the last 6 hours. There were 12. We cross-referenced them with photos, facial recognition, known associates. Nothing. Then Gozi stopped on one. Ethiopian Airlines to Addis Ababa, connecting to Johannesburg. Ticket purchased under the name Chioma Adebayo. My alleged dying half-sister's name. The woman who was supposed to meet Amara for dinner tomorrow. The woman who'd claimed she wanted to help. Oh God, I said. She knows. She knows Chioma contacted me. She's either killed her and stolen her identity, or Chioma was working with her all along, Ngozi finished grimly. It was a setup. Gain your trust, get inside information on police plans, help Amara escape. Call Chioma's number. Now. It rang through to voicemail. We tried again. Nothing. Get officers to her hotel, Detective Adeyemi ordered. And someone tell airport security to detain any woman matching Amara's description trying to board that Ethiopian flight. I'm going to the airport, I said. The wine cellar smelled of blood and secrets. They'd found it behind a false wall, accessible only through a hidden latch disguised as a wine rack hook. I wheeled myself through the narrow opening, police officers flanking me with flashlights cutting through the darkness. The space was larger than I'd expected, a room within a room, maybe 3 meters square, with concrete walls and a single drain in the center of the floor. A kill room. Don't touch anything, the forensics officer warned unnecessarily. Every surface was being photographed, swabbed, documented. But even from the doorway, I could see enough. 7 framed photographs hung on the far wall. 7 men. 7 faces I didn't recognize but would never forget. All of them were in wheelchairs. All of them were smiling, the kind of hopeful, loving smiles I'd once given Amara. Below each photo was a label with a name, date, and a single word, completed. Have you ever discovered something that completely changed everything you thought you knew? Hit like if your mind is blown, and comment where you're watching from. Tunda Delik. Completed June 2019. Emeka Nwachukwu. Completed December 2019. Ibrahim Musa. Completed April 2020. Femi Alawale. Completed September 2020. David Ezekiel. Completed February 2021. Chinedu Ease. Completed July 2021. Alyamide Balagan. Completed January 2022. 7 men between Tund and me. 7 men whose families probably still believed they died naturally, of complications, of broken hearts. 7 murders that had never been investigated. Until now. There's more, the forensics officer said, pointing to a filing cabinet in the corner. Documentation. She kept records of everything. Insurance policies, medical reports, timelines. It's like she was proud of it. Like she was building a portfolio. Inside the cabinet were neat folders, each labeled with a victim's name. I opened Tund's folder with trembling hands. Inside, marriage certificate, insurance documents, medical records showing his progressive deterioration, photographs of injuries, text conversations with Marcus. I know, and I've been living with the guilt every day. When I heard you were paralyzed, I wanted to kill myself. I tried to tell the police it wasn't just an accident, that someone paid me, but my lawyer said I'd get more time if I admitted premeditation. So I stayed quiet. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tell me everything. On the record. For the cameras. He did. All of it. How Amara had approached him at a bar in Aja, how she'd known he had DUI arrests, how she'd offered him what seemed like easy money for a minor accident. How she'd given him my schedule, the exact time I'd be at the toll gate, the make and model of my car. How she'd told him to make it look real but not too serious. She said you'd be fine, he sobbed. She said modern cars had airbags, safety features. She said you'd maybe break an arm, get scared, be more careful about cheating on her. She made it sound like a lesson. A wake-up call. I swear, Mr. Okafor, I never meant to hurt you that bad. When I saw the news, saw what happened to you, you nearly killed me. Then you let me believe it was an accident. You let me blame random chance, bad luck, fate. You let me spend 3 months in hell thinking the universe had randomly decided to destroy my life. I know, and I deserve to rot in prison forever. But sir, please believe me when I say she lied to me too. She used me like she used everyone else. And now she's out there, free, while I'm locked up for a crime she orchestrated. She's not free, I said quietly. She's on a plane to Istanbul with Interpol waiting to arrest her. She's done. We're all done with her. Thank God. His voice cracked with genuine relief. Sir, I'll testify. Whatever you need. I'll tell the court everything. I'll make this right. You can't make this right. Nothing can make this right. But you can help me make sure she never does this to anyone else. After the call ended, I sat in that blood-stained room, surrounded by the ghosts of 7 dead men, and felt something shift inside me. The anger was still there, burning hot and bright. But underneath it, something colder and more dangerous was forming. Purpose. Amara had spent 5 years perfecting the art of murdering disabled men. Now I was going to spend however long it took perfecting the art of destroying her. Legally. Completely. Until her name became synonymous with evil, until her face haunted every true crime documentary, until she spent the rest of her life in a cell, understanding exactly what she'd taken from 8 men and their families. Detective, I said, my voice steady. I want to pursue every possible charge. Attempted murder for the hit and run. 8 counts of fraud. 7 counts of murder. Conspiracy. Racketeering if we can prove she and Marcus operated as an organization. I want life in prison. No parole. No deals. We'll need. She looked different. Amara had cut her long hair short, dyed it gray, and wore glasses I'd never seen before. She'd aged herself 20 years with makeup, wrinkles around her eyes, sagging jowls, liver spots on her hands. She looked like someone's harmless grandmother, not a serial killer who'd murdered 7 men. Hello, Chidi, she said pleasantly, as if we'd run into each other at the supermarket. You're probably wondering how I got past security. The children hadn't noticed me yet, too absorbed in their game. I needed to keep them that way, keep them calm, keep them safe. Where's Emeka? I asked, my voice low. Sleeping. Him and his wife both. Such nice people, taking in my daughters like that. I gave them some tea this morning when I arrived, chamomile with just a touch of sedative. They'll wake up in a few hours with nothing but a headache. The police are downstairs. I know. I've been watching them arrive through the window. 5 cars now. Quite the response. But they won't come up here, will they? Not while I'm with the children. Not while any sudden movement might, well, you understand. Only then did I see it, the small knife she held loosely in her lap, concealed from the children by the fold of her dress. Not threatening. Just present. What do you want, Amara? Want? She tilted her head, considering. I want a lot of things, husband. I want my freedom. I want the 50 million naira you've frozen in my accounts. I want my life back. But mostly. She looked at our daughters, her expression unreadable. Mostly, I want you to understand. Understand what? That you're a monster? That you've killed 7 innocent men? That you tried to kill me? 8, she corrected calmly. Ton through all you might. 8 men who were taking up space in a world that had no use for them anymore. 8 men who'd become burdens to everyone around them. I freed them, Chidi. I freed their families from the obligation of care, freed society from the cost of their existence. I did them a favor. The casual cruelty of it staggered me. You murdered them for money. I liberated them for compensation, yes. Is that so different from what doctors do? They ease suffering and get paid. I just cut to the inevitable conclusion. You're insane. Am I? She leaned forward, her voice taking on an edge. Tell me, Chidi. These past 3 months, in your wheelchair, dependent on others, she had a point. Everything I thought I knew about Amara had been wrong. Every assumption, every belief. Why should I trust my judgment now? But I looked at Kemi and Tari, my brave, fierce daughters who just defended me against their own mother. And I realized something. Amara didn't love them, but she was obsessed with control, with her own image, with winning. Hurting them would be losing. It would be admitting she'd failed as a mother, as a woman, as a human being. Her narcissism wouldn't allow that. You won't hurt them, I repeated. Because the moment you do, you lose everything. The public sympathy you might have cultivated. The possibility of a lighter sentence. The chance that history might remember you as anything other than a monster who murdered her own children. Her hand trembled slightly. The knife wavered. Mommy, please put the knife down, Kemi said, her voice small now, frightened. You're scaring us. And in that moment, I saw Amara's mask crack completely. Tears filled her eyes, real tears, not the calculated ones she'd shed so many times before. I never wanted to scare you, she whispered. I never wanted any of this. I couldn't stop. Once you start down this path, there's no way back. Each time gets easier. Each victim matters less. Until you wake up one day and realize you've become the monster everyone says you are, and you don't even know when it happened. Is Amara finally showing genuine emotion, or is this another manipulation? Comment your thoughts below. You chose this, I said, my voice hard. Every single step. You chose to marry Tund. You chose to kill him. You chose 7 more victims. You chose to target me. You chose to push me down those stairs. Every choice was yours, Amara. Don't pretend you're a victim of circumstance. I was abused as a child, she said suddenly, desperately. My father, our father, Chioma's and mine, he used to say that weak people didn't deserve to live. That disability was God's punishment for sin. When I was 12, my younger brother was born with cerebral palsy. My father smothered him with a pillow when he was 6 months old. Called it mercy. Called it necessary. No one ever investigated. No one ever cared. I learned that day that some lives matter less than others. That's all I've ever known. The revelation hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. It didn't excuse what she'd done, nothing could excuse 8 murders. But it explained the twisted logic, the complete absence of empathy for disabled victims. Everyone's fine, I assured them quickly. Amara was here, but she's been arrested. The kids are safe. She drugged us, Amaka said, her voice shaking with rage and fear. She came to the door this morning dressed like an old woman, said she was from the church's outreach program. I let her in. I gave her tea. I trusted, she broke down, crying. I'm so sorry, Chidi. I almost got your babies killed. You didn't know. None of us really knew what she was capable of. But that was only partly true. The signs had been there, I'd just chosen not to see them. The emotional manipulation. The subtle cruelty. The way she distanced herself from me the moment I became disabled. I'd explained it away, justified it, made excuses. Never again. Over the next few days, the story exploded across Nigerian media. The Black Widow of Lagos, they called her. Every news outlet ran the story, woman accused of murdering 8 disabled men for insurance money. The photos from the wine cellar kill room went viral. True crime podcasts picked it up. International media descended on Lagos. Marcus, facing his own murder conspiracy charges, gave interview after interview from prison, trying to paint himself as another victim of Amara's manipulation. She was like a snake, he told one reporter. Beautiful and deadly. She made you believe you were special, that you were partners, and by the time you realized what she really was, you were already complicit. Obi gave his own interviews, crying on camera about how Amara had seduced him into betraying his brother. The public wasn't sympathetic. His wife Adiz filed for divorce and full custody, and the family disowned him completely. The 7 families of Amara's previous victims came forward, many learning for the first time that their loved ones had been murdered. They filed civil suits, wrongful death claims, demanded exhumations and reinvestigations. The Nigerian legal system, slow and overburdened at the best of times, ground into motion. And through it all, I focused on my daughters. Kemi and Tari started therapy, twice a week with Dr. Adan and Kemalu, a child psychologist who specialized in trauma. They had nightmares. They asked hard questions. They cried and raged and grieved for the mother who'd never really existed. But slowly, painfully, we began to heal. I threw myself into being present for them, helping with homework from my wheelchair, attending their school functions, being there for breakfast and dinner and bedtime stories. I couldn't give them a mother, but I could give them a father who showed up, who listened, who loved them unconditionally. 3 months after Amara's arrest, her trial began. The courthouse in Ikeja was packed, families of victims, journalists, curious onlookers drawn by the sensational nature of the case. I wheeled into the courtroom with Ngozi beside me, prepared to testify, to face my would-be killer one more time. Amara looked different. The jail had aged her, or maybe she'd just stopped pretending. No makeup, no designer clothes, just an orange jumpsuit and hollow eyes. She looked at me once as I entered, then looked away. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Kunnel testified about being paid to cause the accident. Marcus testified about his role in 6 months after Amara's conviction, I finally returned to work. Not to the office, I'd sold my shares in the company to Emeka, realizing I needed a fresh start, something that wasn't tainted by Amara's theft and betrayal. Instead, I started something new, a non-profit organization supporting recently disabled individuals and their families. I called it Phoenix Rising, a bit on the nose, maybe, but accurate. We offered counseling, peer support groups, legal assistance for discrimination cases, and financial advice for navigating insurance and medical costs. Everything I'd wished I'd had during those first terrible months. The work was fulfilling in ways my tech company never had been. Each person we helped, each family we supported through the darkest times, felt like reclaiming something Amara had tried to take, my sense of purpose, my belief that disabled lives had value, my own humanity. Have you ever turned your pain into purpose? Hit like if this resonates with you, and comment where you're watching from. But the past had a way of refusing to stay buried. I was in my home office, reviewing grant applications, when Ngozi rushed in, her face pale. You need to see this. Now. She pulled up a news article on her laptop. The headline made my blood run cold: Prison guard at Kirikiri found dead, suspected murder. I scanned the article. Officer James Olagunju, 34, married with 2 children, found dead in his car outside the prison. Single gunshot wound to the head. Appeared to be a professional hit. Police were investigating. Why are you showing me this? I asked, though dread was already forming in my stomach. Because of this. She pulled up another document, Officer Olagunju's work assignment. He'd been the primary guard for the women's maximum security wing. Amara's wing. And this. She showed me his phone records from the week before his death. Multiple calls to a number registered to a burner phone. And this. Bank records showing a deposit of 500,000 naira into his account 2 days before he died. Someone paid him, I said slowly. To do what? To smuggle things in or out. Messages, maybe. Or contraband. The prison is investigating, but Chidi, Amara's been communicating with someone on the outside. Someone with money and connections. Someone who killed the guard to cover their tracks. Who? That's what I've been trying to figure out. It took some digging, but I finally traced the burner phone's pattern of communication. It made regular calls to one other number, a number registered to a shell company in Abuja. She pulled up the company registration. The company is owned by someone named Ibrahim Musa. I stared at the name. Ibrahim Musa. One of Amara's victims. Number 3 on the wall of photographs in the wine cellar. That's impossible. He's dead. His identity's dead. But someone's been using his name, his credentials, his identity for the past 3 years. Someone who has access to his accounts, his properties, his entire life. The implication hit me like a physical blow. She has a partner. Someone we never found. Someone who helped her with the killings and is still out there. Or a victim who survived. Or a family member seeking revenge. Or, Ngozi stopped, her expression shifting to horror. Oh God. Chidi, what if Ibrahim Musa isn't dead? What if she kept him alive somewhere? Why would she do that? Control. Insurance. A backup plan if she ever got caught. Think about it, she was obsessed with planning, with contingencies. What if she didn't kill all her victims? What if she just made it look like they died, collected the insurance money, and kept them somewhere? It sounded insane. But everything about Amara was insane. We need to go to the police, I said. Already called Detective Adeyemi. She's meeting us at the station in an hour. At the station, Adeyemi listened to our He's trained. Which makes him incredibly dangerous, Adeyemi agreed. We need to put you and your family in protective custody. Immediately. No. If we hide, he wins. If we let him scare us into silence, he wins. We need to find him first. Chidi, he just threatened to kill your daughters. And he'll make good on that threat whether I comply or not. Men like that don't leave witnesses. Don't leave loose ends. The only way we survive this is if we find him first and neutralize the threat permanently. Over the next week, we dug deeper into Ibrahim Musa's supposed death. What we found was chilling. The death certificate was real. The funeral had happened. The family had mourned. But when we looked closer at the medical records, inconsistencies emerged. The death had been ruled cardiac arrest, common in paralyzed patients. But there'd been no autopsy. The doctor who'd signed the death certificate had died in a car accident 2 years later. The funeral home that had handled the burial had burned down, destroying all records. Every piece of evidence that could confirm Ibrahim Musa's death had been conveniently destroyed or was provided by people who were now dead. She faked his death, Ngozi said, pulling up more records. Look at this, Ibrahim's insurance payout was 5 million naira, just like the others. It went to Amara as his widow. But there were also life insurance policies we never found during the investigation. Private policies, offshore accounts. Another 10 million naira paid out to a trust in the Cayman Islands. Access by? Can't tell. The trust is locked behind so many layers of shell companies and legal barriers that even my contacts can't crack it. But someone's been drawing down from it regularly. About 200,000 naira a month for the past 3 years. Enough to live comfortably. Enough to pay for professional help when needed. Enough to fund a revenge plot. Where would she keep him? I wondered aloud. If she faked his death, she needed somewhere secure. Somewhere isolated. Somewhere she could control him completely. She owned properties, Adeyemi said, pulling up records. The house in Ikoyi you lived in, that was in her name from before you married. But there were others. A warehouse in Apapa, supposedly used for storage. A farm in Ogun State, supposedly for investing. A compound in Badagry, supposedly inherited from her aunt. The aunt who died in the electrical fire, I remembered. What if Amara killed her to get that property? What if she needed it for something specific? We drove to Badagry the next day, me, Ngozi, Detective Adeyemi, and a tactical unit of armed police. The compound was on 10 acres of land, surrounded by high walls and dense vegetation. Isolated enough that screams wouldn't be heard. Remote enough that neighbors wouldn't notice unusual activity. The gate was locked, but bolt cutters solved that problem. We entered carefully, weapons drawn, expecting something. Anything. What we found was worse than I'd imagined. The main house was abandoned, dusty, clearly unused for years. But behind it, accessible through an overgrown path, was a smaller building. A concrete structure with no windows and a single reinforced door. Inside, we found hell. 3 rooms, each furnished with a hospital bed, medical equipment, and restraints. The walls were covered in scratches, fingernail marks where someone had clawed desperately for escape. Bloodstains on the concrete floor. And photographs, dozens of them, taped to one wall. Photographs of paralyzed men at various stages of deterioration. Some I recognized from the wine cellar wall. Others were new faces. "Oh my God," Ngozi whispered. "She didn't just kill them quickly. She kept them here first. Tortured them." In the center room, we found evidence that someone had been living there recently. Food wrappers. Medical supplies. A laptop still plugged in and powered on. Adeyemi opened the laptop carefully, using gloves. The screen came to life, no password protection. "He wanted us to find this," she said. I stared at the phone, my mind racing through possibilities, all of them bad. If I complied, Ibrahim would kill the witnesses anyway. Men like that didn't leave loose ends. If I didn't comply, people would die on a timer. Either way, I was playing a game with rules designed for me to lose. Unless I changed the game entirely. "We need to go public," I said suddenly. "All of it. Right now. Every piece of evidence, every theory, every threat. Live press conference within the hour. Make it impossible for him to operate in shadows." "That's insane," Adeyemi protested. "You'd be painting a target on your back. The target's already there. He's already watching my house, threatening my children, killing witnesses. Hiding hasn't protected anyone. But if we expose him, if we make him the story instead of just a shadow pulling strings, we change the dynamic. He can't move freely if every police officer in Nigeria has his description, his methodology, his patterns. We don't have his description. We don't even know if Ibrahim Musa is really alive or if it's someone else using his identity. Then we force him to show himself. We make it impossible for him to achieve his goals without exposing himself." Ngozi was already typing on her laptop. "I can have a press conference set up in 30 minutes. Every major news outlet, live streaming, social media blast. But Chidi, once you do this, there's no taking it back. You're declaring war on a professional killer. He declared war on me the moment he partnered with Amara. Would you go public and risk everything, or comply with the killer's demands? Drop a comment below." 35 minutes later, I wheeled myself in front of a bank of cameras, lights, and microphones. Journalists packed the conference room at police headquarters, their questions already flying before I'd even begun. "I'm Chidi Okafor," I said, my voice steady despite the terror churning in my gut. 6 months ago, my wife Amara Okafor was convicted of murdering 7 men and attempting to murder me. What we didn't know then, what we're only discovering now, is that she had a partner. A man using the identity of one of her supposed victims, Ibrahim Musa. A man who is currently threatening witnesses, killing those who cooperate with authorities, and planning additional attacks. I laid it all out. The dead prison guard. The threatening phone calls. The torture compound in Badagry. The laptop with surveillance feeds. Chioma's kidnapping and probable murder. "This man believes he can operate with impunity," I continued. "He believes that fear and violence will protect his partner and allow him to continue his reign of terror. I'm here to tell him he's wrong. I'm here to tell him that I will not be silenced. That I will not hide. That I will use every resource at my disposal to hunt him down and bring him to justice." I pulled out a photograph, a composite sketch our tech team had created based on security footage from various locations Ibrahim's phone had pinged. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. "This is our best estimate of what this man looks like. Mid-40s, approximately 6 feet tall, athletic build. He has military or intelligence training. He's methodical, patient, and extremely dangerous. If you see this man, do not approach him. Call the police immediately." Then I did something Detective Adeyemi had tried to talk me out of. "I'm also announcing a reward. 5 million naira for information leading to this man's capture. Funded personally by me, paid immediately upon his arrest. No questions asked." 5 million naira was enough to make people brave. Enough to overcome fear. Enough to ensure that Ibrahim would have nowhere to hide. The press conference exploded into chaos, journalists shouting questions, cameras flashing, social media lighting up with shares and retweets. Within minutes, the story was trending across Nigeria. Within an hour, it had gone international. And somewhere, I knew, Ibrahim was watching. Realizing that his advantage had just evaporated. Realizing that he'd underestimated the desperation of a father protecting his children. My phone rang almost immediately. Unknown number. I answered, cameras still recording. I know I'm about to die. The man calling himself by my name, the man who's been claiming to be Amara's partner, his real name is Dele Okonkwo. He was my business partner before Amara targeted me. He helped her fake my death, helped her collect the insurance money. In exchange, she gave him everything she learned about targeting and exploiting disabled men. My blood ran cold. Dele was paralyzed in a motorcycle accident 3 years ago. Amara convinced him that it was society's fault, that he deserved compensation for his suffering, that taking from other disabled men was just justice. She twisted him, turned him into something as monstrous as she is. And now he's keeping me prisoner here, in this place, as his own insurance policy. If Amara goes down, he can blame everything on the dead man. If he gets caught, he'll make it look like I was the mastermind and he was just another victim. Ibrahim coughed, blood flecking his lips. He was dying, clearly. I'm recording this because I want people to know the truth. Dele Okonkwo is dangerous. He's smart. And he's convinced himself that what he's doing is righteous, that he's avenging all disabled men by punishing those who still have money, still have status, still have hope. Stop him. Please. Before he destroys more lives. The video ended. Dele Okonkwo, Adeyemi repeated, already running the name through databases. Got him. Retrio. Continue. Former investment banker, paralyzed in a motorcycle accident in 2021. Dropped off the radar shortly after, no employment records, no medical records, nothing. It's like he ceased to exist. Because Amara recruited him, I said, pieces falling into place. She found him when he was vulnerable, bitter, angry at the world. Just like she found all her victims. But instead of killing him, she turned him into a disciple. Ngozi pulled up more information. He was wealthy before the accident. Family money, successful career. But after the paralysis, he burned through his savings on experimental treatments, got desperate. Then he met Amara, probably through one of her support groups or rehab centers where she hunted for victims. Do we have a photo? She pulled one up, a professional headshot from his banking days. Handsome man, confident smile, expensive suit. Nothing like the cold-voiced killer who'd been threatening me. Distribute this immediately, Adeyemi ordered. Every police station, every media outlet. Update the reward posting. We have a name and face now. But I was staring at the photo, something nagging at the back of my mind. I'd seen this face before. Recently. Ngozi, pull up the security footage from my press conference. Everyone who was in that room. She did, and there, in the back row, in a wheelchair, wearing glasses and a baseball cap, was Dele Okonkwo. He'd been there. Watching me declare war on him. Recording my words, my expressions, studying me the way Amara had studied her victims. He's escalating, I said. Coming to see me in person. That's not professional behavior. That's personal. Emotional. Which makes him more dangerous, Adeyemi warned. Emotional criminals make mistakes, but they're also unpredictable. Capable of anything. My phone rang. Not unknown this time, Dele's real number, the one he'd been using all along. I answered. You found the video, he said, his voice different now, more vulnerable, less controlled. Ibrahim's final testimony. Touching, wasn't it? The way he blamed me for everything. As if Amara didn't corrupt us both. As if society didn't create us. Amara corrupted you. Society didn't do anything. Society did everything. His voice rose, anger breaking through. Do you know what it's like, Chidi? To go from being someone who mattered, who had power, who commanded respect, to being invisible? To being pitted? To watching people look away in embarrassment when you wheel into a room? But someday, when your daughters look at you with pity instead of love, when your friends stop inviting you places because your wheelchair is inconvenient, when you realize that no amount of money or success can buy back what you lost, you'll understand. I'll never understand murder. We'll see. The line went dead. We drove to Badagry with a full tactical team, medical support, and media helicopters following at a distance. The 5 million naira reward had generated hundreds of tips, several confirmed sightings, and a city on alert. Dele Okonkwo had nowhere left to hide. The compound was exactly as we'd left it, except for the smoke rising from the main house. He'd set it on fire, destroying evidence, creating a funeral pyre. Police surrounded the property, weapons drawn, prepared for a standoff. But when we entered the smaller building where the torture rooms were, we found something different. Ibrahim Musa's body lay on one of the hospital beds, peaceful in death. A syringe nearby suggested he'd been given a lethal dose of morphine, a mercy killing, as Deli had promised. And in the center room, in his wheelchair, sat Deli Okonkwo. No weapons. No hostages. Just a man who'd reached the end of his story and chosen how it would conclude. "I'm glad you came," he said as we entered. "I wanted to explain. Wanted you to hear the full truth before everyone else twisted it into their preferred narrative. The truth is you're a serial killer who helped murder 8 men," Detective Adeyemi said flatly. "The truth is I'm a disabled man who discovered that society's promises of inclusion and value were lies. Amara showed me that. She showed me that we're only worth what we can take, what we can control, what we can make others fear. And for a while, that felt like power." "It was just murder," I said. "It was survival in a world designed for our failure." He looked at me, his eyes red-rimmed and exhausted. "You think you're different, Chidi. You think your nonprofit, your support groups, your positive attitude makes you superior. But you're just further from the edge than I was. Give it time. Give it years of pain and pity and watching your daughters grow ashamed of their wheelchair-bound father. Give it enough disappointment and betrayal and you'll understand why some of us choose a different path. I choose to believe people are better than you think they are. Then you're a fool." He smiled sadly. "But maybe that's what it takes to survive this life. Foolish hope. Delusional optimism. Self-deception on a grand scale." He pulled out a pill bottle from his pocket. "Morphine. Enough to end it peacefully. I'm tired of fighting, tired of running, tired of being the monster. This is my choice. The only choice I have left." "Don't," I said, surprising myself. "Don't give up. You can still make different choices. You can still." "Still what? Spend decades in prison? Face execution? Become a cautionary tale? No, Chidi. I choose my own ending. I choose the dignity of deciding when and how I die. That's more power than I've had since the accident." He opened the bottle, poured pills into his hand. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry about Chioma. About the guard. About the fear I caused your family. Amara convinced me that our victims deserved it, that we were just correcting cosmic injustice. I believed her because believing her was easier than accepting that I'd become evil. But I know now. I know what I am. And I can't live with it." "Deli, please," but he'd already swallowed the pills. The medical team rushed in, trying to intervene, but Deli pushed them away with surprising strength. "Let me have this," he said. "Let me control something. Just this one thing." He was fading fast, the morphine working through his system. His eyes found mine one last time. "Tell your daughters," he whispered, "that their father is brave. That he didn't let the world break him. That he chose to be better than what happened to him. Tell them." His voice faded. "Tell them there's still hope. Even when everything says there isn't." Then he was gone. The aftermath was a blur, police investigations, media circus, endless interviews. We found Chioma at the clinic in Aja, exactly where Deli had said. She was traumatized but alive, recovering under psychiatric care. The families of Amara's victims finally got closure, Ibrahim Musa's body was returned to his family for proper burial, and the evidence we'd gathered reopened all 7 murder cases officially. Obi was sentenced to 15 years for conspiracy and fraud, not for the murders, which he'd helped enable but hadn't directly participated in. His wife Adiz divorced him, took full custody of their children, and moved back to Abuja to rebuild her life. Marcus received life in prison for his role in covering up 8 murders and facilitating insurance fraud. His testimony helped convict several corrupt officials who'd been paid to look the other way. And Amara? Amara learned about Deli's death from her prison cell. According to the guards, she didn't cry. Didn't show emotion. Just nodded once, said, "I knew he wasn't strong enough," and went back to reading. She never spoke of him again. Never acknowledged their partnership. In her mind, he'd been just another weak man who'd disappointed her. Another tool that had broken when she'd needed it most. 2 months after everything ended, I received a letter. Kemi and Tari helped me with my speech, reading parts of it themselves about their father's courage, their own healing, their determination not to let their mother's evil define their family. During the speech, I looked out at the crowd and saw so many faces, people rebuilding their lives after accidents, injuries, illnesses. People choosing hope over bitterness, connection over isolation, life over the slow death Deli had chosen. Maybe Amara was right that I'd never be the same. Maybe the scars were permanent. Maybe some part of me would always be waiting for the next betrayal. But maybe that was okay. Maybe being broken and rebuilding was its own kind of strength. Maybe surviving wasn't about being unscathed, it was about choosing to move forward anyway. After the gala, Ngozi approached me with her laptop. "There's something you need to see." She pulled up an email from an anonymous sender. The subject line, "She lied about everything." Inside was a document, a birth certificate for twins born in Port Harcourt 9 years ago. Kemi and Tari's birth certificate. Except the father's name wasn't mine. It was Obi's. The dates lined up. 9 months before their birth, Amara had gone on a business trip to Port Harcourt, where Obi had been living at the time. I stared at the document, feeling the floor drop out from under me. My daughters, the twins I'd raised, loved, sacrificed everything for, weren't biologically mine. They were products of Amara's affair with my brother. An affair that had started years before my accident, before I'd even known they were seeing each other. Everything, every single thing, had been a lie from the very beginning. "The DNA test is there too," Ngozi said quietly. "Anonymous sender had it done. It's definitive. Obi is their biological father." I should have felt devastated. Betrayed all over again. Destroyed by this final revelation of Amara's deception. Instead, I felt nothing. Or maybe acceptance. "Does it matter?" I asked finally. "Chidi, does it matter?" I repeated. "I've raised them for 8 years. I've been their father through every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every nightmare, every triumph. I was there when Amara wasn't. I loved them when she was planning to make them orphans. Biology doesn't change that. It doesn't change them. And it doesn't change me. Obi might try for custody. If he finds out, let him try. He's in prison for 15 years. And even if he wasn't, even if he had all the legal rights in the world, those girls are mine. Not because of DNA. Because of choice. Because of love. Because of everything we've been through together." I closed the laptop. Delete the email. Erase the evidence. Whatever Amara was trying to accomplish by revealing this, whatever final twist she thought would break me, I'm not playing. Those are my daughters. End of story. Ngozi smiled. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Because that was the truth Amara would never understand, the truth Deli had missed in his bitterness. Love isn't about biology or perfection or unbroken trust. Love is about choosing to show up, day after day, even when it's hard. Even when you've been hurt. Even when the world says you should give up. Love is about being there. And I would be there for Kemi and Tari, my daughters, my girls, my reason for surviving, for the rest of my life. Not because I had to. Because I chose to. That night, I went home to our new house, smaller than the Ikoyi mansion, but ours, untainted by Amara's presence. Kemi and Tari were waiting up, breaking their bedtime rule because they'd been too excited about the gala to sleep. "Daddy, were we good speakers?" Kemi asked, climbing into my lap. "The best," I said, kissing her forehead. "Did we make you proud?" Tari joined her sister, both of them somehow still fitting in my wheelchair despite being bigger now, growing so fast. "Every single day," I promised. "You make me proud every single day. Even though Mommy was bad?" Kemi's voice got small. "Even though people know about her?" "Especially because of that," I said. "Because you could have let her poison you, make you bitter and angry and scared. But instead, you chose to be brave and kind and strong. That's not easy. That's the hardest thing in the world. And you do it anyway. Because you taught us," Tari said simply. "You showed us how." We sat there together, the three of us in my wheelchair, in our small living room, in our imperfect but healing life, and I realized something. Amara hadn't won. She never could have won. Because winning wasn't about who caused the most pain or who got the last word or who destroyed whom most completely. Winning was about this, holding your children close, building something good from the ruins, choosing hope when despair would be easier, and believing, despite everything, that life was still worth living. I'd been pushed downstairs, mocked as a living corpse, betrayed by everyone I'd trusted, and broken in ways that would never fully heal. But I was still here. Still fighting. Still loving. Still building a life worth living. And that, I realized, was the only victory that mattered. 6 months later, I received one final letter from Amara. This one was different, shorter, handwritten instead of typed. "You were right. I didn't win. I'm watching from my cell as you rebuild, as our daughters thrive, as Phoenix Rising helps hundreds of people I would have targeted. You took everything I tried to destroy and made it stronger. I don't know if this counts as an apology. I don't know if I'm capable of genuine remorse. But I wanted you to know, you were the only one who ever beat me. The only target who survived and turned my own weapons against me. If I'd actually loved anyone in my life, it might have been you. Not the version I planned to kill, the version I discovered underneath. The one who refused to break. The one who chose his daughters over his pride. The one who proved Deli wrong about everything. I'll die in here. Probably soon. There are people in this prison who don't appreciate serial killers, even among criminals. I've made my peace with that. But before I go, I want to say, thank you for showing me what strength actually looks like. I spent my whole life thinking it was about control, power, making others fear me. You showed me it's about love, sacrifice, choosing to be better than your circumstances. I wish I'd learned that before I destroyed so many lives. Including my own. Goodbye, Chidi. Take care of our girls. Even if they're not biologically yours, they're yours in every way that matters. Amara. 3 weeks later, I received news of her death. Stabbed in the prison yard by an inmate whose sister had been one of her victims. Quick. Brutal. Final. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no grief, no closure. Just the end of a chapter in a story I was still writing. At her memorial service, which only myself, Chioma, and a handful of prison chaplains attended, I said a brief eulogy. Amara Okafor was a serial killer who destroyed lives for profit and pleasure. She was manipulative, cruel, and irredeemable in almost every way. But she was also a victim of abuse, a product of toxic teachings, and a cautionary tale about what happens when pain turns inward and becomes poison. I don't forgive her. I can't. But I understand her a little better now. And I hope, wherever she is, she finally found the peace she never allowed herself or others to have in life. Then I went home to my daughters, to my work, to my life. Life moved forward. Kemi and Tari grew. Phoenix Rising expanded to 3 cities. I dated again, carefully, with therapy and boundaries and honest conversations about my trauma. Slowly, I rebuilt trust in humanity, in love, in the possibility of connection without destruction. The scars remained. Some nights, I still woke up from nightmares about being pushed downstairs, about Amara's laugh echoing in empty hallways, about discovering new betrayals. But those nights became less frequent. The healing wasn't linear, but it was real. 5 years after Amara's conviction, I remarried, a woman named Folklore who worked with Phoenix Rising, who understood trauma and wheelchairs and complicated families. She loved Kemi and Tari as her own, and they loved her back with the fierce devotion of children who'd learned not to take good parents for granted. We built a life together. Imperfect. Scarred. But genuine. And every day, I proved Amara wrong. Every day I woke up and chose to live, not just survive, but actually live with purpose and joy and connection, was another day I won the war she'd tried to wage on my soul. She'd called me a living corpse, pushed me downstairs, tried to murder me physically and spiritually. But I'd risen. Rebuilt. Reclaimed my life. The wheelchair couldn't hold me back. The betrayal couldn't break me. The trauma couldn't define me. I was Chidi Okafor, survivor, father, advocate, and living proof that no matter how fast life turns, no matter how far you fall, you can always choose to rise again. And that was a victory worth more than all of Amara's blood money could ever buy. The end. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. If you made it to the end, you're amazing. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more gripping African drama stories, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. What did you think of Chidi's story? Did he make the right choices? Should he have told the girls about their biological father? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us where you're watching from. Share this story with anyone who loves tales of betrayal, revenge, and ultimate redemption. Until next time, remember, no matter what life throws at you, you always have the power to rise again. Stay blessed. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.